So I'm someone who uses an Android phone and a Mac. Basically with a mix of Google, Microsoft, and some other third-party services, these two actually work pretty well together, much better than you would think, where you don't need to be tied to a single ecosystem. It looks like a lot of you guys subscribe to that idea too, seeing how many of you guys liked my video from last year about my MacBook plus Android setup, but the one thing I couldn't really find a good alternative for was wireless file transferring like Apple's AirDrop or Android's QuickShare. If you have an iPhone and a Mac, you can seamlessly use AirDrop to send photos, videos, and other files between the two. And if you have a Windows laptop with an Android phone, you can basically do the same thing with QuickShare or Microsoft's Phone Link feature. But if you have an Android phone and a Mac, there is no clear first-party solution. Thankfully, a lot of you guys recommended LocalSend, which is this totally free open source cross-platform service, so I finally set it up and tried it out. And after a couple weeks of using it, I have to say that this is such a good overall alternative to the AirDrop problem right now. It's so easy to set up with a well-designed modern UI, and moving files over is as simple as AirDrop or QuickShare. With this, you don't have to deal with uploading to or downloading from the cloud anymore just to transfer files between your Android and Mac. How it works is it uses local Wi-Fi instead to have your devices directly talk to each other. You don't need to create an account, there's no drive you have to organize, there's no compression, so everything is full quality, and basically no limits on what file type to share. It's totally open source and transparent, so no ads, no subscriptions, and you can see the network info and that everything's encrypted and working within a secured network. And like I said, it's available everywhere, including Android, iOS, macOS, Windows, and even Linux, so you can use this for any kind of OS combo if you really want. Getting started with LocalSend, there's not much onboarding needed, but let's go over the setup process so you can see how it all works and how easy it is. So find and install LocalSend from the Play Store on your Android phone, and for Mac, the Mac App Store or LocalSend's official site or GitHub page. Open LocalSend and make sure to grant permissions to your local network. Then you're in and you already get a good sense of how smooth and simple the UI is. There's 3 tabs for receive, send, and settings. On the main receive page, you'll see what your device will be displayed as on other devices. Just to keep things easier, I recommend going straight into the settings and changing your device name to something recognizable like Hoyoung's phone, or the device name like Mac Mini, or maybe something a little ambiguous if you want to be cheeky. And I also recommend setting which folder you want the files you receive to be saved to. I like to set it to the main downloads folder since I transfer all kinds of different files outside of just photos and videos. For my phone, I also make sure to have on save media to gallery so all the photos and videos I receive can be shown right on my gallery app. Then back on the main receive screen, I have quick save on for devices that are marked as favorites so that things just transfer over and I don't have to confirm each and every transfer when dealing with my own devices that I trust. Then in the send screen, you'll see a really simple layout showing you the nearby devices in your local Wi-Fi that have LocalSend installed. Like I mentioned earlier, you can favorite the ones you'll be transferring from and to. You just pick the files you want to send over, tap on the device you want to send to, and boom, it's sent over just like that. Since it is running on Wi-Fi and not something like Bluetooth, the transfer speed is actually really fast. This is how long it actually takes to send a bulk of videos and photos at once. For Android, so that you don't have to open this app every time you want to send something, definitely go customize your share screen and pin LocalSend at the top. So when you're in your file manager or your gallery, you just select share, tap LocalSend, pick the device you're sending to, then you'll receive and autosave everything on your other device. Since there's an easy share button on Android for anything, this is actually really practical for documents, photos and videos, links and text, including passwords. For us Android and Mac users, this makes things so much easier for our devices to talk to each other. Also, since LocalSend is on iOS too, us Android users can technically use this with iPhone users as an AirDrop alternative. But on both iOS and Android, it is a bit of a pain since the app seems like it needs to stay open on the screen to be visible, and plus it's going to be really hard to make your friends and family install a separate app like this. They're probably just going to text you instead. And as much as I love LocalSend and think it's an awesome AirDrop alternative, it's definitely not the perfect solution. First, unlike AirDrop or QuickShare, since LocalSend only works when both devices are on the same Wi-Fi network, it's mostly for when you're home or using a shared Wi-Fi at a coffee shop or something like that. So if you're outside sitting somewhere and your phone is on mobile data and your laptop is using Wi-Fi, they won't be able to detect each other on LocalSend. This is by design, depending on the local network, which is great for privacy, but it's not a perfect solution for when you're outside with your friend and you want to send them something from your phone. Also, since LocalSend does use Wi-Fi instead of Bluetooth, your transfer speeds depend a lot on how the Wi-Fi is set up. For example, if you're using a public slower Wi-Fi network like a hotel or a crowded cafe with a bunch of devices connected to it, the experience is not going to be as smooth as what I've been showing. And again, when you want to transfer stuff over to your Android phone from, let's say, your Mac or something else, your phone does tend to need local send to be open, which is kind of annoying. I'm mostly sending stuff from my Android phone to my Mac, like photos and vlog footage, and not really the other way around, so this limitation isn't a huge deal, but something to keep in mind. Other than those limitations, I am super satisfied with local send, and I highly recommend trying it out if you're a cross-platform user like I am. I still think the long-term definitive solution needs to come from Apple or Google. Ideally, I'd love to see Google officially release a quick share app for macOS. They already launched one for Windows, which is owned by Microsoft, and it works really well. You just install it and your Android phone can instantly share files with your PC. If they just brought that same experience to Mac, the file transfer problem for Android users would basically be solved. And technically, they could do it, it's just that the only thing stopping them might be Apple. AirDrop is generally one of the best reasons to stay inside Apple's exclusive ecosystem since it just works and everyone loves it. So the only thing I'm counting on right now is for Google to do something to bring QuickShare to macOS, or for the EU to pressure Apple into doing that, just like how they forced them to implement USB-C into their iPhones. But yeah, for now, local send is probably the best solution we've got. It's open source, it's cross-platform, it's really easy to use, and it's fast and secure. So yeah, if you're someone using an Android phone with a Mac, or even an iPhone with a Windows PC, local send is definitely worth your time. If you're already using it, or if you've got other cross-platform solutions that you recommend, definitely let me know in the comments. If this video helped you out, I'd really appreciate it if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video.